Washington. Good evening, Jessica. Happy New Year.
Good morning to you. Happy New Year. And, you know, this might be what you call a nail biter.
I love it.
Or not. Wait till we get those done. Anyway, so Jessica, it's day 2 for the new Congress, and the House of Representatives have yet to elect a speaker. What's the latest on that front?
Oh, my goodness. It's literally unfolding on my screen beside me as I talk to you all there in Jakarta, Indonesia. This has been 100 years since a vote went past the first round just to elect a leader of the majority party in the lower house of the U.S. Congress. And until the House gets a speaker, they can't do anything else. They can't authorize any other spending. They can't pass any other legislation. They can't even swear in new lawmakers. I just saw an interview with a lawmaker on another network, and he couldn't even call himself a congressperson yet because he technically has not been sworn in to serve in this Congress. So, guys, this is really a paralyzed U.S. Congress because of this situation. The man you're looking at there right now, California Republican Kevin McCarthy, has made it absolutely crystal clear he wants the job. It is a powerful position, as we know. It is the third in line to the U.S. presidency. This person is going to set the agenda. It is also a role where they can decide what gets to the House floor for a vote and what does not. And going into Tuesday's election, because we are now in day 2 of voting, McCarthy was already behaving like he was the speaker. He had already moved into the speaker's office. He had announced House Republican priorities, but he needs 218 votes to be elected speaker, and his own party, at least 20 members of his own party, are not giving him those votes that he needs. And 12 of those 20, the New York Times reports, have actually not even admitted that President Biden won the 2020 election, just to give you a little bit of insight into what kind of perspectives they are bringing to the U.S. Congress. Right now, McCarthy is meeting with those 20 skeptics behind closed doors. They have adjourned until 8 p.m., just 2 hours from now, to continue the votes. But he has lost every one of the 6 rounds of voting that have taken place thus far by a margin of up to 20 votes. And so he's got to cut a deal or get off the stage, and we'll see what happens in the next few hours.
So you also mentioned President Biden. So how is President Joe Biden starting off the new year with all this political upheaval?
Well, he is really seizing the moment to draw a contrast. You know, there was literally a moment today where there was a split screen across American television sets where he was on the left doing bipartisan policymaking there in the state of Kentucky alongside Republicans and Democrats and really people who have opposed him quite viscerally on policy. He wants to highlight the contrast at the same time with his bipartisan approach to government and what he would argue is a very chaotic approach that is going on Capitol Hill right now. Biden is also planning to spend some time on Friday, marking the 2nd anniversary of the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol building. He will be talking about the importance of democracy, supporting democracy, and we are certainly seeing a messy democracy and the messy side of democracy play out on American televisions at this hour.
All right, and regarding to one of the newest members of the U.S. Congress is under investigation in Brazil on fraud allegations dating back to 2008. What's the latest on this case, Jessica?
Yeah, speaking of messy, this is a vote that essentially helped to give the Republican Party a majority in the House, allowing them to take back the gavel from House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and the Democratic Party. This is a case of George Santos. He is a very young Republican. He is also a gay Republican, and he won a very close race on Long Island, but he has already admitted that he greatly exaggerated his own resume, including saying he went to school where he did not go to school, saying he worked at Goldman Sachs and Citibank, which he did not. He's also being investigated for possible campaign finance infractions, including potentially using some campaign money to pay his own rent. So those are things he's facing inside the United States. But you mentioned in Brazil, those authorities have reopened an investigation into a case of fraudulent check writing that took place about 10 years ago, in which he allegedly stole his mother's co-worker's checkbook and used it to buy clothing. That case was really never went anywhere because Santos left the country. He has denied the allegations. He says he's not a criminal, but some have called on him to step down from Congress. At this point, he's not willing to do that, and he has continued. You see him right there in the House, on the House floor. He is voting in this House Speaker vote, even as he too is under investigation and potentially may not be able to serve out the rest of his 2-year term if, in fact, he is found guilty of anything that he's been charged with.
Right. Jessica, I'd like to pivot to a case that's captured the attention of the American public and many of us around the world as well, which is the case of the murder of 4 college students in the state of Idaho. What are the latest developments on this case?
Yeah, the suspect in that case is 28-year-old Brian Koberger. He appeared in court on Tuesday and agreed to be extradited or moved for prosecution to the state of Idaho. And he is on his way there now. We know that a plane registered to the state police left the state of Pennsylvania, where he was taken into custody, and you see him there. That plane is bound for the state of Idaho, and that is where he will face charges of first-degree murder in the case of 4 different Idaho college students. He himself is a PhD student studying criminology at Washington State University, which actually, even though it's in a different state, is in driving distance just across the state border from Idaho. They were stabbed to death at a rental home back in November. So mid-November, it's been quite some time that the nation has been following this case. Investigators were unable to name a suspect or locate a murder weapon for weeks. Koberger was arrested about 100 miles north of Philadelphia in the end just last week. And this case has largely captured the nation because it took so long for any progress to be publicly announced. But in some ways, just the fact that there is a suspect, that there is a process going on, is some level of vindication for those police officers who have been working there. You see them in Washington State at Koberger's home. This has just got a lot of twists and turns and a lot of mystery because they still have to establish a motive here. We don't know why this particular suspect would allegedly have committed these crimes, and it's fascinating to watch.
Right. Obviously, I'm glad for the outcome of the arrest, and we hope to find out more in the coming days. Thank you so much, Jessica, for your time. As always, have yourself a great evening.
You bet. Good to see you all. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Jessica.
Bye.
Bye. All right, we're going to...